All right, guys, so this video in particular is for those that want to get started in short-term rentals, not specific to Airbnb, bookings.com, VRBO, nothing like that, just specific to short-term rentals. And when you're questioning whether or not you should have a firm cancellation or flexible or moderate, for some platforms have. Me personally, let me give you guys an example, my experience as to why I suggest you do it firm. Everyone can have their way of doing it. It's their business. Fine, sure, no problem. I'm gonna give you guys, my experience and why I suggest doing firm. Okay, first and foremost, this is a business, right? This is your business. This is your property. This is your income, and you got to decide how you're going to secure that income. You got to decide how you're going to interact with your guests, and how you want your cash flow. So for some people, Airbnb may not be your main source of income, so that could also weigh in on your decision making in terms of whether or not you're going to make it a firm, flexible, or moderate, right? So if you're receiving other income, let's say you have a job, you have a 9-to-5, and just an example, right? You could be doing a couple other businesses for all I know. But if you have other income, let's just put it that way, then you may be more inclined to doing the flexible because you're not solely reliant on Airbnb for that income, right? So having that flexible or even that moderate cancellation could work for you, right? You're not really gonna stress out if somebody cancels 2 or 3 days before they check in. Whereas if this is your full sense of your complete and your only source of income, right? And I'm not saying just one individual property. I'm saying as a whole, like you may have multiple properties that you want to get listed, right? You may start off with short-term rentals and say, well, I have 2 properties that I want to put up for rent. Maybe you acquire them through probate or family or whatever the case is. Me personally, I like to have a firm. I do have extra other sources of income. However, I like to have it firm. Why? Because I want to secure that income no matter what. Ultimately, this is a business, and I don't want to have my business just kind of running, not a strict program, if you will, right? So this is why I say firm. Let me give you an example. I launched an Airbnb, say about a month and a half ago. We've had some clients coming in. So this is on another topic, but one thing in particular is I like to do a reduced rate when I first get started, right? That way I'm competitive. That way people are more inclined to book it with me because I have a new property out in the market. So I'm already giving people a lot of discounts. Okay, so when they book, they're not getting the market price. They're getting way under market price. That's how I get a lot of influx in the beginning and get my reviews. As soon as we launch, 30, 60, 90 days, we're getting 10 to 12 reviews. So you're already getting a benefit there. I'm literally hooking you up to stay at a 3, 4, 5 bedroom home. So you book and you're confirming, hey, this is what I'm going to do. This is, my confirmation for this property. Cool. So these particular guests on check-in day decided this is not the location we thought. We want to cancel. Mind you, we already had set everything up for them. This guest in particular, he was celebrating a girlfriend or wife's birthday. So we put balloons in the home, right? Nothing that we had to do. We just did it for them, right? Again, this is a business, and we want to present it in the best possible light as possible. We put some balloons there, prepare for them. Okay. They get there. They probably checked in maybe within an hour. He sends me a message. He's like, hey, thank you for everything. The home is beautiful. The home is perfect. The accommodations are everything. However, we're going to cancel. So you've already checked in, right? We have a firm cancellation policy. So you can only cancel up until 7 days of your reservation. I think he made the reservation like 2 weeks prior. Cool. So he could have canceled 7 days prior if he needed to. Done his due diligence. And I always recommend doing your due diligence. Like, why wouldn't, if you're going to go vacation somewhere, why wouldn't you see where the property is based off of everything that you want to do? In fact, he did ask that. So we gave him recommendations. Hey, you can go here, you can go there. All that, right? Because we have a guidebook. So needless to say, he did not do his due diligence, because when I gave him a call, he said, because I wanted to know, hey, what could we do to, still accommodate you and, keep you in the property? You've already paid. So he said, no, everything is perfect. It's just that we actually have family that's staying closer to the beach, on the beach. And that's what we thought this property was. And I'm like, well, I'm not on the beach. I think I'm about maybe 10 minutes from the beach. But, why wouldn't you have done your due diligence? Why wouldn't you have looked at where the property is, the address, all that stuff? And not to say that they didn't. Something else could have happened, whatever. Okay. So he was like, hey, I'm going to cancel. I was like, hey, that's fine. You can go ahead and cancel. But just know that we did have a firm cancellation policy. So talk to Airbnb. I'm not going to say no, because let him get the word from Airbnb. I don't want to be the bad guy. I don't need to be the bad guy. What is already. The firm cancellation policy. Cool. He gets in contact with Airbnb. Airbnb then lets me know, hey, they canceled, but there's no refund to them because they're already checked in. They're literally in the property when they're trying to cancel. Now I did tell him. I said, hey, if you decide, this is prior to him canceling, I did say, hey, if you decide, you want to stay there, I'll leave it open for you for 24 hours. But I didn't even have to do that, because once he canceled, Airbnb opened it right back up for us. And Airbnb does let you know, hey, they canceled, there's no refund to them, and then they open, your calendar again. So this is why I recommend doing the firm, because of things like that, where a person can want to cancel literally then and there, and you'll be SOL. You're hosting them. You've already paid for cleaners. Your schedule's already booked, and now they want to cancel literally an hour after they get there, and it has nothing to do with you. All about them. It could be a number of things. It could have been the space wasn't big enough for what they planned on wanting to do. He did mention, I have family that is staying closer over there. Okay, so is it that you wanted to bring family over? Because we could accommodate up to 8 people. It was only him and his girlfriend. So I don't know. Maybe he was thinking of doing something else. Maybe he didn't expect a camera, a Ring camera, whatever. Nonetheless, we still could have accommodated for him. It was a 10-minute drive. He wanted to be on the beach, so be it. But that was his fault, or at least his excuse was that he wasn't on the beach. For the rate that we got him, for the 2 or 3 days I think he was staying there, that rate alone for that big of a house, it was a how many bedrooms? We have 4 bedrooms in that home. For that size home on the beach, that price that he paid would have probably been 1 day. He paid for 3 days. So some people just, they don't think, man. Like, how could you pay this price and you're on the beach for that size home? That's just ludicrous, And I'm saying that because I looked at, you got to do your due diligence yourself as an owner, and to see what other properties are in the area. So our pricing for where we were was good. I mean, it was reduced, of course, to get people in, to get reviews. But that property on the beach, what he paid would have been just 1 day. versus he paid for 3 days. Come on. So anyways, this is why I'm saying I recommend doing the firm. If you have other reasons why you would do moderate or flexible, fine, so be it. Kudos to you. I'm just saying from my experience and why I suggest doing the firm. Again, this is your business. You can decide how you want to do it. If you guys see contrary, you have questions, and if you have questions as to how to get started in Airbnb, please reach out to me. I want to connect. I want to help. I want to teach. From